Hello and welcome again to Mr. Naughton's guided lecture for health class. Welcome back if you're paying attention or if you're listening to this. If this is your first time, welcome. Today, our lesson is on defense mechanisms, also known as coping strategies. This is in the same line as when we're talking about dealing with stress. When we're under stressful situations, we deal with these defense mechanisms and deal with these coping strategies to kind of explain ourselves or give us rationale to why we actually do things. So we're going to explain what defense mechanisms are and give you a few examples of the most common defense mechanisms that are out there. We will wait as it loads. Defense mechanisms, aka coping strategies. So, what is a defense mechanism? Well, it is a coping strategy used to help to protect yourself from difficult feelings. And we all have difficult feelings at times, and we all use these strategies, whether we know these strategies or whether we're just doing them based on a natural reaction. What do these do? Well, these help keep emotions under control. And like I said, they may be used without even conscious control, which means we're actually doing them sometimes without even knowing we're doing them. These do provide temporary relief from stress, and it does protect your self esteem. But we should know that when these are used too often, defense mechanisms can actually keep you from being responsible, prevent you from dealing with the actual problem, or can always also lead to harmful ways of handling the problems and emotions of stress. So using these too often or falling back on these too many times, and it can actually have a negative impact on you. The first example of a defense mechanism is compensation, and compensation making up for a weakness in one area by excelling in another. And with this gentleman over here with the red hair, he was never a very good athlete, but he's very good at sales. And this may have worked out for him in the business aspect, but the one problem is that weakness never improves or it does not improve. So if you are not good at something, just by compensating and being good at other things is not always going to fix the problem. So always, what you should always try to do is if you're not good at something, you should try to work on that weakness and then continue to work on your weaknesses instead of just building for strengths. The next defense mechanism is projection. Projection is putting your fault onto another person. This never solves the problem. Um, putting your problems onto somebody else because something doesn't go well for you. In this guy's situation, you can see that sales are down, and he's saying that it's not his fault because his boss gave him the worst clients. So pointing the finger and blaming other people. There's also another defense mechanism that's similar to this, but projecting your problems onto somebody else, not taking them as your own problems is a big deal. And we always kind of are advocates for dealing with our own problems and our own situations and making sure that the responsibility lies on us in healthy situations. The next defense mechanism is rationalization. This is making excuses for your actions or your feelings. And this doesn't get the job done, just doesn't. In this guy's case, this gentleman called in sick so he could go play golf. And he's rationalizing his decision by saying that there's plenty of other people that can do the work while he's out. When you make excuses for your actions or your feelings, you are just postponing what the real problem is. So make sure that if there is a problem, or there is something that you need to do, or there is a certain way that you feel, that you actually come to terms with it, or they actually get the job done. Because that's the best way in dealing with a stressful situation. Do not rationalize with it. Another defense mechanism is reaction formation, and this is behaving in a way opposite to the way you feel. It may relieve your guilt, but it does not make up for the hurt that you may have caused somebody else. We can use this example. This person is talking on the phone to somebody else and is snickering and bragging about, telling somebody off. But really inside, this guy feels bad for yelling at a friend. And sometimes in situations when we're under a lot of stress, we actually behave in the opposite way that we feel because we're trying to deal with the situation and we don't know how to deal with it. So this is kind of the putting up a front type defense mechanism where if we feel bad for somebody, we'll turn around and laugh at them or make fun of them because we don't want to show other people or we don't want to show ourselves that we feel bad for them. So this is reaction formation. It's where you're acting the opposite of how you actually feel. This is a pretty self-explanatory regression. This person is returning to immature behaviors, childlike or baby-like behaviors to express their emotions. As you can see, this adult is crying and screaming that he doesn't want to go to work today. Sometimes in stressful situations, we do regress and we do go backwards, and this is never healthy for us. We should always be taking steps forward. If there's dealing with stressful situations, we should always be dealing it, especially with your age as adolescents, dealing it like young adults or like future adults or like actual adults, not falling back and trying to use childlike tactics to get out of something. The next defense mechanism is displacement. It's where you shift your emotions from one person or one situation to a safer substitute. You misdirect your anger. This can prevent taking responsibility, and it also may hurt someone or something else. So as you can see, this person on the far right who looks like a person of authority is yelling at somebody else, and they are displacing maybe their guilt, maybe their anger, maybe their frustration to this poor young pup that doesn't seem to be doing anything wrong. So the displacement is actually happening from the person getting reprimanded to this young dog, to this cute dog, because they are dealing with something, and instead of dealing it with the actual person that they're angry with, they're going to turn around and turn it on somebody else. We've probably have dealt with this situation before if we have younger siblings, where our parents might get mad at us and we might turn around and blame our younger sibling, or we might take our frustration out on something else that we feel is much easier to deal with other than dealing with the actual situation. Daydreaming, fantasy. This is a pretty big defense mechanism. This is imagining something more positive in order to avoid a situation. Now, hopefully at your age, you're not spending your time daydreaming. I know you're probably off not paying attention sometimes in class because you're thinking about what's going on the next day or what's going on over the weekend. That does constitute as daydreaming. You're not actually in the now doing what you need to be doing, but hopefully, things are going well for you, so you're not imagining something more positive. You should be in a pretty positive place wherever you are. A lot of people at school and at work get stuck with daydreaming and fantasy because they're not happy with the situation that they're in. They dream about being somewhere else, being on vacation. They might be having money problems, so they dream and fantasize and daydream about winning the lottery or hitting it rich. Just know that this is not a healthy way to live your life, because first of all, you're not paying attention and not realizing what actual reality is, and you're also thinking of something else now, thinking of something that's better on the other side. And a lot of times our daydreams and our fantasies will never come true. So not saying that you shouldn't be dreaming or you shouldn't try to set goals to achieve something, but more saying that when we're thinking of these outlandish things, these outlandish fantasies, these things that might never happen, we're really just kind of wasting time where we could be spending time being productive. Another defense mechanism is denial, refusing to recognize an emotion or a problem. Easy one is denying the fact that someone might have a drinking problem or a drug problem or some type of substance abuse problem. Just denying the fact that there's an actual problem, hiding it, making sure people don't see it. This is obviously a very dangerous defense mechanism. It can lead to a lot of other problems, and when you do have a problem or there is an emotion, you should deal with it head on. You should not deny that it's actually out there. So even when you're dealing with friends or dealing with adults, if you have an emotion or you have a situation, don't deny that there's a problem and act like everything's okay. Actually confront the person or actually confront the problem and figure it out and figure out a good way of how to deal with it. So, in review, we got our fantasy, aka daydreaming. As you can see, this guy over here is daydreaming about having a sports car and getting the ladies. This young adult right here is slamming his books on the ground and stomping on them, having a little bit of a fit because probably he's dealing with too much homework and too much stress. This is reaction formation, because it looks like this girl did not win the election in her student council. So she's actually saying that she'll have time to do other things when really she's probably pretty upset, because why would she run for student council president in the first place if she didn't want to win? That is reaction formation. Projection is blaming others or things for your failure. So you can see these two people are pointing the fingers at each other. And projection also, it's my math teacher's fault, I failed the test. You blame other people. An example of rationalization: a student who cheats on a test may say, I only cheated on a few questions, I knew most of the answers. So those are, in a nutshell, just a few defense mechanisms. There's plenty of other defense mechanisms, but we focus on these ones. And there are some extra videos that are shared with you on Schoology that you can watch, and there's an additional few additional defense mechanisms. But just remember, these may make you feel good for a little while. These may fix a problem every once in a while, but ultimately, dealing with the situation, talking out your frustrations, talking out your emotions, and talking out your problems. Making sure that if you have a problem with somebody or something, that you actually address the problem with that person or with that problem. These are all good ways of making sure that these defense mechanisms don't affect your health and they don't affect your relationships. That's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this lesson on defense mechanisms. Keep listening, especially if you're missing class. Make sure that you're getting these lectures in so you are missing a beat. Until next time, this is Mr. Naughton signing out. Bye-bye.